Hello and welcome to another Naughty Egg Draw. I'm Jake, and today we're going to be working on some environment concept art for a video game. So this process is going to be separated into multiple videos, mainly because of how long it takes to completely make a very fleshed out concept piece. In this first video, we're going to be going over when you're given a basic concept for something, how to create the sketch for it. But I think it's about time to get started. So normally when you're coming into working on concept art for someone, you've already talked a bit about what that person wants the image to incorporate. Whether that be the feeling the area should be giving off, or even a specific object that they want to make sure is incorporated into the piece. With that being said, you're not always given a lot to work off of, and you may have to turn on that creative juice factory to really start going at it with everything you've got. For this piece, I did my best to replicate this process in which you're not given a whole lot of information to work off of. To do this, to pick the theme, I used a coin that had one side as sci-fi/fantasy and the other side being realistic in its theme, and I got sci-fi/fantasy. The next step was to pick a focus for the piece to be around, so I used a random generator and got the word tree. So I took the ideas of fantasy landscape with the focus on a tree, and my mind went right to thinking about a tree of life kind of thing. So once I made a rough sketch of the tree, I started to think of how I wanted the area around it to look, and I was playing around a lot with the idea of huge canyons around the tree with floating platforms of some sort. I was really liking the idea of the floating platforms, but I didn't really know what I wanted for the background. I kept bouncing between indoor or outdoor in my mind and drawing things like mountains or waterfalls and cave walls in the background. The one thing I want you all to take from this video is that even if you have a great idea in mind for something, doesn't mean it's always the best idea. I always encourage people when they're sketching to save something if they like it, but then make a second file and erase a lot of what you've made and just try it again. You'll see in this video I switch my mind many times before I am done, and the end result is way different than what you guys are seeing right now. And it would never have gotten there if I hadn't reset my scene a couple of times. Now, you don't always have to do this, but I'm just urging that when you're working on something, you don't always have to go with your first thought. It's not like it's a math test where you should always go with the first thought you had. And sketching is the best time to just test things out. I'd rather test something out now, before I've colored everything, and then go, oh man, I should have tried it this way instead. Now, a lot of the techniques I'm working with are heavily inspired by the book Digital Painting Techniques, and I'll leave a link for it down below because it's a great book to have around if you're working on wanting to get into digital art even more. So as you can see, this is when I really changed up how the entire thing looked and moved the tree back. I liked the last version that I made a lot, so I did save it, but I started with a whole new idea. Because I was keeping the tree in the same area so much before, I wasn't coming up with anything new when I made changes to it. So I moved it back so that the tree grabbed your attention in a different way. The last version felt like it wasn't as immersive as I wanted it to be, and I needed to do something that would really pull the viewer into the piece as if they were playing the game that this would be for. With this setup, I felt like it would be really cool to have this thing like the Snake Wave from Dragon Ball Z and have it floating in this vast area. Making the tree float in front of this huge waterfall and endless ocean line makes the tree really feel as though it's a very important structure on this planet. When you're working on environment art like this, you really have to think about how the viewer would react to the scene when they're playing the game. Do you want this to be a huge ooh, ah moment, or do you want this to be a moment where you should be scared of upcoming dangers? For me, I wanted to have an ooh moment when you finally see this tree of life for the first time in this vast alien world. But that's pretty much it for the sketching stage of all of this. I'm basically just adding the last bit of detail that I feel I'll need when it comes to the coloring phase of this piece. Just remember, you don't need to have everything in the sketch that you may have in the final stage. Some of the extra details will start to happen as you start to shape everything in color. So make sure you come back in the next video to see how I go about coloring this piece and really bring everything together. Alright, we are done with the sketching process of our concept art. So far, I'm really liking the way this looks. And remember, we're going to be working on this piece more in the next video, so if you want to see how this thing looks colored, make sure you guys stay up to date with my videos. Oh, and check out this awesome fan art that was made by Flossie Flores. And if you guys want to have some of your art shown here at the end of these videos, make sure to follow me on Twitter at NaughtyEggD and add the hashtag NEFanart to be featured in these videos. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video till the end. If you haven't yet, make sure you smack that sub button, throw a like and a comment down below, and like always, keep drawing, and until next time, bye!